co-caster here on Esports SEL. Apparently, UJ was running their own broadcast, and they were joking that they have their one person. I'm doing producing and casting all by myself, and she's apparently doing producing, casting, and observing all by themselves. So we just decided to consolidate here for Esports SEL, and now here we are. So welcome, Cheez-It. I hope I don't think your tag fits in your Twitter tag fits in the thing. It does not fit in it. There's a G at the end of that, I'm pretty sure, on your Twitter at the top, right?
It is a G. And
there is
an
a G
in there, but who cares?
It doesn't fit. You've got a really long Twitter tag. It does not fit. Shout out for Fred. He may be able to fit the sizing of that someday in the future. He's our coding genius. But at least my tag is correct. He didn't get my tag correct on broadcast on Thursday. He somehow specifically got mine wrong. I've worked here every week for 2 years, so... at a certain
point, he's got to fix it, right?
At a certain point, it feels like it's on purpose, right? Like it just feels like it has to come down that way. All right, we're going to jump on over. We're already in the Agent Select and already out of the Agent Select as we had a little bit of a yap session there. As for UAH, they're bringing out the Sage. They're bringing out Deadlock. They have a Cypher, and they have the Fade and Omen. Now, they did bring 4 Sentinels last time I saw them on this map, and they actually managed to come out victorious against Georgia Tech, who was a very powerful team here in the SCL. That was in our winter showcase when we were doing our new production package and our Jump 2 VMix, which we're now using here. And then as for the opposing side of Georgia, the Vice is somewhat standardized for this map, which is why it's still shocking to see that not as a Sentinel option for UAH. The Omen, the Fade, the Breach, and the Jet. So the big shocker for me is the double initiator here out of the Breach and out of the Fade. Maybe expecting a different style, but this can most definitely work. It should be a pretty good selection for them.
I'm 100% very accustomed to seeing the side of UGA Red take those aggressive competitions. As we've seen the double duelists in the first 2 maps, they definitely try to rely on their gunfights and their fast plays to go into a site, take it fast, and take complete control. They are going to still rock, a majority of the players on that initiator duelist role, which I'm very accustomed to. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, a triple Sentinel comp coming out from the side of UAH, which is very interesting for me to see how those two are going to go against each other. And Sage, Deadlock, Cypher, and then a Smokes player and an Initiator, no duelist for the side of UAH. These 2 teams are going to be completely opposite in their comps for the first time so far, and seeing how they play into each other, how they take the space, especially towards the A side, is something I'm looking forward to.
I've been thankful we haven't had a mirror composition, to be frank, right? Like, it's been at least good in that capacity. And even when we do, it's at least a different enough map, right? Like, I feel like we're finally seeing some versatility, some viability for non-Ascent Haven and everything else in between. Even when we do say Haven, I talked about it a little bit at the beginning of the broadcast for map 2. It's different, right? We're so thankful that agent diversity has changed so much. You have the very viable option of your ISO, the very viable option of bringing a Teo into the mix and changing things up with a Breach Teo combo and things like that. So it just feels like Valorant is stepping into a really good spot. But of course, unfortunately, with that kind of change up in the agent selection that's coming in, Teo is kind of dominating every single map, except for select few maps like Pearl and happens to be also Lotus. While Teo can be good on Lotus, there's more viable options. For UAH, who are the team that really like Teo, Gray absolutely adores Teo, and I would have made Gray's image yesterday in broadcast because we didn't have a camera for him. Teo, instead made it Silva. Teo just doesn't have enough images, for funny meme images online for me to plug that in necessarily. But we work through it slowly but surely. The big thing to mention here for the heavy Sentinel choice for UAH means that they can, in fact, just have one player play on C the entire time, like the old style was for KJ, where you just stack up a million nano swarms, and the archway, which had to get expanded because it was so dominant for KJs to lock down C by themselves.
Right.
That strategy still functions because the Deadlock wall covers the entirety of that entrance into arches and makes it so that you can stay on site or sit in cubby and still be very useful as the rest of the team starts to pivot inwards. I would only argue their weak point here, and the problem they did somewhat suffer, and they really dominated Georgia Tech in that series, but the big problem they somewhat suffer with having this many Sentinels is retaking potential obviously has a little bit less, and it's going to be super reliant on keeping that Fade online, which is why they're likely going to be trying to hide where that Fade is consistently on this defense, so they make sure they have that for their retakes, where currently they're off towards Tree. That could be an early fight, but if you keep them there towards door, they at least have an advantage in a gunfight, as the door will give the audio cue and you'll know which side they'll have to come out in because there's only 2 options.
1000%. I think one of the things I'm looking to see how they play on this defensive side is, as you mentioned, oftentimes you can just leave a sentinel over towards C, have them deal with it. But I'm wondering, with that Sage barrier orb and the deadlock wall as well, are they going to choose to utilize one off rip every single round, almost like a defaulty wall, to keep some space early on? And then how UGA is going to adapt to that, maybe looking to break it, contest it, and then back off. So it's kind of that space control that they have the options to mess around with those walls can allow for UGA, that might cause UGA to run into a lot of stacks from the side of UAH, which this triple Sentinel comp might need, because as you mentioned, the Fade is their only real retaking power, along with the Paranoia from the side of the Omen. But heading into the pistol round, it does look like UGA is going to contest this level size, setting in that breach stun, and they're going to be running up trailer taking complete rubble control, but unlike a lot of comps, there's going to be no defensive aggression towards the rubble. Fly spamming through the door a little bit with the sheriff is going to be looking to take some space here, or looking for chip damage, but UGA is going to back off and potentially look to rotate to another side after taking the rubble fight.
The most annoying thing to possibly ever deal with on a pistol round is a sage wall. And what's the second most annoying thing to ever deal with on possible in a pistol round? Deadlock wall, right? And they have both of them. So these pistol rounds, which have been a problem for UAH throughout the entirety of this series, should arguably be the best they've ever been. As the deadlock wall eventually go down, like I said, it covers the entirety of that archway. If you play it a little bit deeper, it actually has both sides actually be effective in denying it. So they have to shoot the center. It can't just go for a single corner or two. But eventually, you know, UGA will have to get close. They can melee this out with a smoke, or they can rotate to an opposing side. Because like I said, it just takes too much time, too much ammo. Don't want to waste it. And with the way Sheath has been playing all day as this Vice, I don't anticipate that they're going to have any lack of confidence in them to be able to solo out any of these players on A side, as it is just Fur now here, stuck by their lonesome. No utility really to work with. Still have is a tripwire they have placed just behind Box. And by dodging this breach util for the stun, they may be able to open up a chance for more, but here comes so much suffocating utility back their way by UGA. Paranoia from Sonic, and now a classic shot from Sonic gives them yet another frag, and Sheath goes crazy for more. It's a 4-on-2, and UAH's final two have to both come from either stairwell or defender spawn.
The grab net there, trying to find some value onto Sheath. However, Sheath with the 3K, the shots are landing. Trapman is going to swing out and get the kill on the trailer. Gets another nice shot with the classic on the Sheath. Brings it to a 1v2, but has low time. Only 70 HP to work with, and it's just going to fall to his demise as Sonic's going to finish him off with the ghost there on the bottom of the rope. A couple of nice shots from Trapman there made it a little bit scary as a UGA fan myself, but Sheath with the 3K, closing it out. And I think one of the big things UGA did there was utilizing the rotate, even in the pistol round where we don't see as many rotates typically as opposed to for their gun rounds. But going against a triple sentinel comp, you're going to have to poke holes. You're going to try to have to find utility like that deadlock wall, the sage barrier we talked about before, and how you play around those and how you utilize the rotate to take the space and fight accordingly and try to find the weaker site is going to be key.
A lot of the placements you see the ice wall get played in here for UAH is constantly here down mid in front of B, which is something that we saw just the prior round. It's really effective for those rounds like eco rounds or pistol rounds, but also they'll play it into Link on door that connects over towards A. They'll play that so it's elongated so that it's have to clear not just one, but two or even three to get around it and even have to get through that stairwell. It's very high prowess on the B side, so you're likely just going to continue to see that Sage on B for a very long time as, wow, Boosted not only gets the first blood of this round, but also gets the second and third thereafter, securing domination on every single Sentinel except for the Cypher of Fur, who's now the only one left standing after Sheath rips through the Fade on the side of UAH. And it's 5-on-1. This is about what you'd expect for a pistol round. But like I said on map 2, where you had 4 kills for UAH, despite UGA winning the pistol and dropping 4 in round 2, that's a win in my book. That's a win in any team's book for a bonus round. They're not getting any lap of that limelight here. Not even an effective frag to their name, meaning UGA will have, in what should be a kind of disjointed rifle buy for UAH heading into round 3, they'll have every single weapon they started with in round 2 to work with. You just gotta hope Fur can sneak something, and Sheath denies that, shutting them down. Headshots galore for Sheath all day, and why not add one more?
Great shots coming out there early on, and that means that Vice Ultimate's going to be alive as well. Sheath getting 5 kills early on here, along with the death. A lot of ultimate orbs farmed is going to unlock that Vice Ultimate, and that's going to be a very powerful tool in this round if they do choose to invest it, as they do have slightly weaker weaponry. Going to have one Vandal, a Guardian, a couple Bulldogs, and a Spectre. And then the double Odin, as you mentioned, yeah, Fur and Fly both looking to rock the Odin on the defensive side, as they're both actually set up on the A side. Are they going to be able to spam down some of UGA's aggression here? UGA is going to be able to safely take Rebel. Dark Cover coming out so they can clear all of this initial space. Fade Eye not getting any scans. This Fly wanted a scan there to find the value with the Odin. Position revealed and just spamming through this wall. Now first Prowler coming through. Fair spamming as well. No value found with the Odin so far. Sees to slow down these tree players as Fly gets flashed out and is going to go ahead and back up towards the back of the site. Prowler now coming out. Trailer up in the sky into the Cloudburst with a tailwind and that Vice Ultimate I mentioned before. Fly falls, Fair almost falls as well, and the site is completely theirs.
And UAH just have to completely step away. The fact they only got away with one loss of life in that extension from UGA is already impressive enough, but UGA have cemented a foothold now on site. Thorns keeping Fur back. Second layer likely to dissipate soon. The moment they go for this, they'll have to drop, and they'll need some sort of an extension in from close side. Sambot, though, goes first. Paranoia in. Tax 2. No, dark cover. They want a little bit more safety net in the swing, and they get it from up above, but it's just not clean enough. Trapman. Now, the only one left has to come down stairwell. Sonic playing in the far side of box. Jump peek for intel. Nothing given. Hot finds nothing from up above, meaning no one drop, no one up by rope. They have to be all the way back in defender spawn saving, and it's just no chance when Boosted's laying the lights here. Lights out for UGA, and it's 3-0 for this offense. And the Odin spam was a huge proprietor of UAH's success with the heavy sentinel play they're going for. The walls are paper mache, Dallas likes to say here on the SDL broadcast. But you have to have a little bit of intel to act off of that, and look what UAH really have an absence of on that ace site in terms of their sentinel choice when rocking the deadlock and fade there. It's not a whole lot of information in the back of sight, and they really can only rely on the trip bars, which are easily tripped up, but the fade sending out a couple haunts and prowlers.
1000%, as you mentioned, Flies their only real retake capability, so once they lose that initial player, the only thing you have left is a Paranoia, as Sambot tried to use from drop to take that space, but it's so tough when you have no duelist, no one who can really create the space and throw off the crosshairs of UGA. They're able to hold those sight lines, and the shots are landing for UGA Red as they've consistently dismantled UAH heading into round number 4. 3-0 scoreline, and only shares for the side of UAH. UGA trying to get out of this with as little damage taken as possible. Really steamroll that economy, steamroll those rounds, start getting a lot more ultimates online as well. The only one right now is the Nightfall, as they're going to maybe pivot over toward the seaside. First, probably going to come in once again. A tripwire spotted out by Fur is now kind of stuck on site. Nightfall is going to be go ahead and be invested. Trailer absolutely flying into the site, uncontested. Sees two players over towards Waterfall, gets the first. Fair trades out onto Boosted. Huge kill there. Fly actually able to escape with his life, even though he's full blind. And now we have a lot of players from UH here close by. Fair. Trailer's gunfight hygiene not quite converting. Sai managed to get a good trade onto Fair, but it's still a 3v3. Despite the weaker weaponry, UAH is giving UAJ a run for its money. Grab that and a haunt on its way.
More.
Oh, wow. Sambot shuts down Sai. She managed to get a kill on Trapman. Sonic shuts down Fly, jumps up and goes for more. Sonic saying that you got a couple kills, but this is UGA rounds to win. 4-0 UGA, but they took a lot of damage on that anti-eco.
Yeah, it's an eco round where UAH are just trying to build up a little bit of confidence, get the ult economy back into their back pocket, maybe make up for the shortcomings they had previously. It'll be a 1 Odin rush here for UAH's defense. Give that off to Fly. Once again, try to hide them for a while in A inside of tree, and let the rest of the team try to matriculate as much as they can in their favor. Gray, who has been... It was kind of a focal point here for UAH, both on Haven, where they got the map win, as well as doing successfully quite well for themselves on our first map there of Pearl. Needs to do a little bit more here so far, starting off on Lotus. I know they're mostly avoiding the B site, and that's where you're going to stack that Sage up every single time with that Ice Wall. But the retakes have to be a whole lot more clean, and it's really hard to find instantaneous value with that. As Fly does get a good chip shot damage off through the wall, connecting just behind Tree, but the players moving off into Cubby also have to take a couple steps back, because Fly is finding, well, no kills, but definitely taking no prisoners. There's plenty of damage done to the UGA offense so far.
Yeah, damage dealt across the board there. The Odin finally connecting a little bit. Fly great awareness to know where UGA players likely are. And UGA, for the first time this map, is trying to poke a hole towards this B site. Where we do see this Berry Orb went up early at the start of the round, but now that the clock's hit the 1 minute mark, it's going to dissipate in gray. B2 has fallen completely to UGA's aggression there. They just triple swung it and they took him down. Now they're going to be running towards the C site, where Fair is once again the only one left alive. Prowler and Trailer coming into their face. Fair swings out, gets one side with the trade, but from the shadows is going to allow Sambot to be here to support. Sai and Trailer both fall to Sambot's crosshair. He's going to send out the Paranoia to control the spike. They even have the spike in their own dark cover. They have complete control that from the shadows, and Sambot's help means that UGA's Aggression completely fell apart on the C site. Sonic is going to grab the spike, but it's down to 20 seconds. Sheath has walked all the way through the B site. Meanwhile, is now in Waterfall, but Fly is aware of this position, pops the door, and it's 15 seconds left. It does look like the spike is going to go down.
10 seconds left.
The retake still all the way up. You'll have upper side, heaven, and B. Of 2 players come through door to take lower. One needed to go through Waterfall. I'd like to see all 3 avenues of approach really utilized here for UAH, but UGA have plenty of opportunities themselves to leave Sheath close inside the smoke, prowling. Stewie 2K, but unfortunately outdone, a lot like their professional career. The Deadlock ult comes out, and Annihilation finds nothing at the other end, but Sonic is trapped. Lay the Odin spray, lay down the fire, hell unleashed upon Sonic. And while eventually a reload will have to be made by Fly, the result doesn't change. UAH will get their first round win. Despite the fact that Gray got rinsed through so easily still yet again on B, the rest of the team stepped up to the pacings, and it's Sambot who's been highlighting themselves here for UAH. The great assistance to Fur, who was trapped on C site, the From the Shadows just behind box, the play upper side onto site to get not just the first player trying to walk through Waterfall for UGA, but the swing thereafter to Trailer, who's trapped just behind boxes, not sure which direction to peek. This is the versatility, the change in arrangement for UAH that they're hoping for by having these players that you'd expect to play a certain way because they're a Sentinel, but can't play that way because despite having a Sentinel, they got 3 more next to them, and they just don't ever have to change up their style as Gray gets so much information here off the back of these players firing at the ice wall, but they still lose the first fight. Gray has to find an answer in the kill department.
Sambot, though, looking to support every single Sentinel that falls and trades him out with the kill onto Sheath. Great play there. Dark Cover is going to completely shut down UGA's execute here. Meanwhile, on the A side, Fly with the Odin just going to spam down Trailer. That Odin finding value once again. Trapman is going to set his own little trap there with the Deadlock Wall. Shuts down any more A presence as UGA does not have the numbers anymore to contest that. They are down a man disadvantage, a 3v4. They're gonna try to pivot over to the C side. They have actually picked the weak site where the only thing defending it is the spy camp and the tripwires. But again, the aggressive spy camp that Fair has been throwing every single round allows that early information and allows the rotates to come in accordingly. Now, first tripwire is going to be triggered. Paranoia is going to not allow Fair to try to convert with this Ares that he has online. Boosted V3 is going to run into that aftershock, but is able to get on site, sees towards back site, and the spike is starting to go down towards Waterfall. Any spam, it looks like it's going to go through uncontested. The Odin spam coming in eventually, but this is too little too late. Ares spam, I apologize. The ding from Sonic, from Sai, but Fairy took the trade. Sonic with a nice trade, but GrabNet means that Fly is going to go swing Boosted, but Boosted gets his vision back right in time. Sonic gets the last 2 kills, and Sonic with a massive 3K converts that man disadvantage 3v4 into a 5-1 scoreline for UGA. And they're looking to punch their ticket to playoffs real fast here.
I mean, everyone here makes playoffs, actually, technically speaking.
Oh, really? Okay.
Round 2 of LCQ, everyone makes playoffs because we did not do a lower bracket, which I went into depth on Thursday and Friday. Is my fault. I was responsible for looking further into our coordination, but I was so focal pointed in, you know, just too, hindsight's 20/20, right? But I was too tunnel visioned in on our pool stage and our play-ins and things like that, and we worked with what we had. I didn't look at our LCQ as much, and should have definitely vied for the lower side, but that's changing next semester, so thankfully that will be different. All round 1 teams will have a second opportunity when they lose that game. It won't just be round 1. Enter, you lose, you're out. So teams like LA Tech that had to forfeit, you'll still have a chance to continue to playing come next semester, and we love having them here as they've been here for quite a while for us. The UAH has been as well, and they would like to have a better seeding for playoffs, which is what this truly comes down to. UGA come into LCQ highly seeded because they were a tier 1 team, but they needed to prove themselves a bit more because their performance at tier 1 still put them in the bottom side of that tier. And now, they've at least made a statement against one of the better teams of tier 2, but they have to still force a map 3. And this is where UAH have kind of made an upset into round 7. 2 great shots from Fly and an eco round nonetheless, but the Sheriff puts UAH at a possible man advantage where utility is the name of the game for UAH's defense as Sentinels, and there's plenty of it with still having 4 players up in comparison to the 3 of UGA.
Trapman sending out that GrabNet, looking to start this retake off strong, but Trailer playing this aggressive angle. They're trying to contest and somehow is unable to find any value there. Fair with the Sheriff is going to shut him down. There comes the Vice-Ult as well, but the Vice-Ult's not going to do a lot when the other team has mostly pistols. Sandbox is the kill on the Sheath with the Sheriff, and The right click from Trapman is going to convert the last kill onto Boosted, somehow poking through the corners of the dark covers, looking at each other's shadows after images. In the end, the kills are going to fall the way of UAH, and somehow in a round that looks like it should have been UGA's by every single textbook that exists, UGA completely falls apart. That is a massive thrifty for UAH, and UGA once again losing to another thrifty, as we've seen on every single map so far today.
Yeah, every textbook that exists, but joke's on you, UAH can't read. I can say that. I know them. Actually, I know Gray. I don't know anybody else. I live in Huntsville though, so I'm very local to them.
Don't worry, UGA can't read either. I can say that as I know.
Perfect.
Them,
okay,
so.
It's just the SEC schools apparently.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You write the textbook, but unfortunately, we're all illiterate. At the end of the day, though, for UH, they're plenty happy with that result. Purely though, that was a horrendous round for UGA. Only because losing at Eco, it happens. Losing at Thrifty, it happens. Using the Garden after you know that 4 at that point of the frags that have gone in UAH's favor were with pistols? I guess the idea was they don't want to have to deal with the rifle that was dropped from the player on site inside of Hut. They didn't want to have to deal with the rifle being picked up, but I'd much rather deal with that rifle and then strip 5 rifles out of UAH's hand in a later round with the Garden.
1000%.
But I guess they know Sheath is so darn good. They want to try to get that ultimate back online as quick as can be. We're likely to see it at least once, if not twice, still, before this half is over, because we're only 7 rounds in, this now being the 8th, and we're seeing a lot of that Sentinel utility just be an ever-present threat, or an ever-present nuisance, truly, in the backside of UGA's offense, as this wall will force them to rotate over here towards B, where they've got everybody coming in, 2 from main and 3 now from split door. Oh, and well, one of them's just gotten rinsed, so it's only a 2-2 split.
Trader has that Bladestorm online, looking to go absolutely crazy with it, as they did buy up a couple guns as well. They have the spike down, but they're going to be pinched from both sides. There it is, the Rolling Thunder. They're going to take space, and they're going to choose Waterfall to do it. Boosted. Gets the kill onto Fair. Trailer gets the kill onto Sandbot. She gets one as well. Fly, though, trying to go insane with the Odin. 3-4, and is up for the ace. Is now down to a 2v1 side. Grab net and now sees so much utility completely stuck in place. The spike is defused, and Fly goes for it all, but Trapman secures the last kill. And UGS was, I believe they were in a 4v2 at some point, and then Fly just ran them down with the Odin. Absolutely decimated them. Blast X Odin putting in the work, getting the kill effects, and UGA falls apart. 5-3 scoreline.
Is it bad to say that UAH's MVP right now is not a player? It's a gun?
No. I think it's a valid point.
I think that's like, for a lot of teams, I think saying that would be like inexcusable. Like, oh, well, op crutch, right? Like that's the joke to make. That's the butt of the joke. You're jabbing at them. Op crutch, you know, stinger crutch, sheriff crutch, right? But this is an Odin, and this is Lotus. These are things that go hand in hand, and to make matters worse, you got 3 players where that's arguably their best gun, especially for a map like this where the walls are paper mache. Like playing on a scent and shooting through the B wall, which you can no longer do, but still seem some offenses now picking up the Odin for the B push. Just shoot through and get through the cubby instead, right? We're seeing changes, but Lotus will always be paper mache as it stands. And UAH have what I said was very important on Thursday, and the reason why we saw Cumberland absolutely dismantle JMU, despite on paper them being somewhat close in skill regard. They just had better map comprehension. And UAH, their entire strategy of this map, their entire being revolves around the Odin play, revolves around these Sentinels, and revolves around the utility dump alongside Shrapnel and 5.56 dump there on their defensive side. And when it comes to offense, it's not that different of a game plan for them. The formula is still set in stone, but obviously having a much less decisive forward-fronted nature, not having that standard duelist you'd expect, is definitely going to change up how they have to translate into these site pushes, because for UGA, they just tailwind in. They just shrouded step further in alongside a dark cover. They've got so much there. The UAH won't have that when they move on over to our second half. They want to get as many rounds as possible here on defense, and UGA are already just 1 round away from guaranteeing an even half, no matter what worst case scenario.
Definitely, and in that timeout, I definitely think UGA was talking a lot about how they want to adapt to this playstyle, because I don't think this is the one UGA Reds ever faced before with this triple Sentinel comp, and that Odin absolutely decimating them. I think that waterfall play was the right play, taking that space, but they just got completely punished from behind. So just that awareness and team cohesion needed is probably definitely discussed. But now they're looking at a deep ulti look. They went a little bit weaker on the weaponry, and probably looking to get a couple upgrades if possible. They've been poking holes towards all 3 mains now. through A main towards the rebel position, Sheath into the dark cover in B main. They're trying to see if they overextend. However, who's going to overextend from the side of UAH? Sentinel 1, Sentinel 2, or Sentinel number 3? They have all the utility they need to hold on to the space, and they're not going to go anywhere past it. And so at this point, UGA has to convert onto a site, and there we go. Tailwind from Trailer going all the way onto the C site, and with that rifle that they chose to invest in, Fair is going to fall. That is a site now unlocked. They have to worry about waterfall spam, though. They only have 10 seconds left. Here comes the Hunt, trying to get some spam down, trying to get some value, but Boosted is actually going to be able to get that plant down for Mound. The door is tripped as well. The Deadlock coming behind. Trailer, though, converts in second, and a third, and a fourth kill. Trailer going absolutely mental, just shutting down any sort of retake hope for the side of UAH. She's closing it off with a nice sheriff shot on Trapman through the rotating door. And with that, UGA brings us to 6, despite the weaker buy.
Now, Trailer, that's like a vehicle thing. Trailer had a really good map 1, and that was greatly assisted by their agent selection at Phoenix. And I mentioned a little bit, map 2, they performed up to snuff. They did what they needed to do, but they weren't this difference maker like they felt like they were on our first map. The problem is Psy for map 2. Psy was getting outperformed. It turned into a Yoru diff, and it's because it was just a lot harder to find value for that agent on their offense when they weren't able to fire on all cylinders against the utility and the very quick rotations that UAH were bringing to the table. Psy has fallen into a much more passive role, actively initiating for the team. The Breach is super powerful on this map, and having double initiator means that not all of the weight is on their shoulders, and they can play a much more retrospective concept for initiation and set things up so you have 2 players at any given moment to strip sightlines or force players to have to think twice. And the big thing right now for the fade for UGA has come down to the net, has come down to seizing all of UAH to keep them in place, as well as to stall out any of the retake potential, because they don't have the ability to quickly dash away from it, to tailwind out, to boost pack away from the fight. They're all staying static on the floor. The only way they're not on the floor here is that they're jumping up into heaven on B or trying to take a rope on the A site. UAH are very easy to read on their defense, and that's why UGA, despite the ease of access that UAH have for sight lines, UGA are playing very smart, slow, methodical, brewing things up, using the entire time bank in this round. They want to try to get as much of an advantage in round 10. They've already guaranteed an even half. They'd like to go a little bit further, as there's a Prowler. Tripwire will go down. Trailer will be stunned thanks to a lot of the utility being dumped back the other way. But now you've got everyone trapped in a tight space, and this annihilation could be a great way to strip sightlines. You still have to be wary of the fact that the Sage will rotate in and have a chance for a resurrection on top, as here comes the Odins. Spray down the line. Sambot got one before falling, but Fly gets one too, but Boosted pulls out the Sheriff to great impact, leaving it as a 2-on-3. Can the Annihilation do enough here? Well, unfortunately, UAH give up a 7 to this UGA side.
Sheath pushing up the stairs position now, knows that both of the players on site. Boosted is tagged up and gets a huge kill on the Trapman. Now a 1v3 for Grey B2, who's been struggling so far this map to find kills, find that value, and find the heads of UGA. Is going to be dropping down onto site. A little bit indecisive here. No Sheath is behind him. Arc Rose in his face as well. Sonic swings out and gets the kill. And that round came down to the wire. It came down to a matter of seconds. Boosted swinging out there. There were 6 seconds on the clock when he hit that shot. 4.5 when the spike started going down. It was a difference of half a second. Flies Odin down that tree line, just holding it down, absolutely spamming. That is so tough for UGA to come out there. I think one difference that the Sentinels allows is the fact that there's so many choke points you have to worry about. So they were not really trying to fight through that 8 main checkpoint and split. They were all going through tree, and then the Odin became also powerful due to that sort of idea. Now, 5 sheriffs for the side of UAH. They're going to be saving completely for this last round. They do still have 2 ultimates online, the Resurrection and the Annihilation. Han's going to spot out Sonic early on here as he TPs into Rubble. And UGA once again taking their default A presence, but Fly pushed up behind the boxes for the first time. I believe they've done this so far in this map. And then the Deadlock pushed up as well. We have Trapman all the way up in behind these boxes on C. So both players getting unusually aggressive for UH's defensive side, but Trapman gets spotted out with a very unfortunate timing. Fly gets spotted out as well, but the aggression is just not going to fall in UH's favor.
And now stuck with 3. Do still have their Omen on C side, so maybe Sandblock can go a little bit crazy here, but they're going to time any execution or any entrance into the smoke, and UGA don't really feel like they have to be hard pressed here on time. Let the smoke dissipate. Sandblock can layer another one down, and they'd still have time to let that one dissipate as well, but you don't got to worry about a second smoke. If you commit your smokes, 1 towards defender spawn, 1 inside waterfall, You now can just engage into that smoke and take the fights because you know you have that player advantage. This is what the confidence and the upbringing that UGA have on this map with the solid lead they've given can create. As it's another frag and yet another frag to UGA. Trailer, 3 of them, seemingly by their lonesome into this site. Guarantees UGA have 8 exiting this first half. And the best case scenario for UAH is 4.
I think one big thing here that's allowing UGA to play so well is because so many of these players on UGA have a very aggressive play style. A little bit of a backstory. We actually have 3 different duelist players on UGA. Players who come from duelist origins actually all picked onto this team. So despite the fact they're in different roles, they still have that aggressive nature about them. And that aggressive sort of play style is really helping them dismantle this defense, this triple sentinel defense that UAH has tried so hard to concoct here with this Odin. And heading into the second half, wow, Trapman and Sandbot though, they're saying that we're not done for yet. We still have a round to go, and we're gonna get the first 2. Sheath gets a trade and actually sends out the Vice ultimate as well. So Fly trying to punish just as the classic, and despite the paranoia, just swinging around the corner, full blind, shuts down Fly. Sandbot knows he's low, decides to go ahead and convert that trade, and is able to do so. Sheath taken down, and is now a 2v3 for UGA's players, but is a 2v1 if you look at the right half of the map. Fair, back all the way up into this heaven position, blinded, scanned, stunned. So much utility, but finally we see the resurrection coming out from Gray. Trapman is going to come alive over on the C site, and now it is a 2v4, and they have very little space. They're stuck towards tree, and the players are flooding in from UAH on all sides of the map.
Man, this is such a tough spot to be in for UGA in this post plant. UAH can kind of take their time with it. Ferg gets a lot of intel off there towards Sonic. Sonic even gets a bit of a damage licked off into their shoulder. Sonic will now play just a little bit lower, down and drop. Trapman will play a barrier. Oh, a mesh. Stealing away any movement for Boosted, and a defuse for UAH will give them that 4. That will be half the total tally of UGA. But still 4 can be plenty fine. And if I recollect correctly, for the Georgia Tech UAH Winter Showcase match here for the SEL, when we saw this heavy Sentinel selection first out of UAH, they actually performed better on the offense. That may be because we only saw them in offense for the majority of the game. They started on offense. I can't recollect entirely. But they were still, despite not having a duelist, despite not having a super strong initiation overall, because Fade is a little bit lacking. That's why you have the Fade and the Breach for UGA. They still performed up to snuff, and sometimes even better, because Georgia Tech was a very powerful team. But man, Georgia have solidified where they stand, and they're just 4 rounds away from guaranteeing overtime, and 5 rounds away, 5 mistakes away for UAH, because it seems like they have to play flawless with this kind of agent selection and offense. 5 mistakes away for UAH from solidifying a 2-1 scoreline and getting a higher seeding here for our playoff stage of the Esports SEL season.
And as we've seen, the classic A space taken, but I like how UGA, it seems they did not invest a lot of utility into that. They decided that, what are we going to be fighting here? We're not going to be fighting a Jet dashing out. We're not going to be fighting a Ray satcheling out. But Sheath is getting over aggressive, walking past his utility once again over on the C site, as has been his downfall time and time again. Leaving Boosted all alone in backside with the classic fair, jumps up and takes off another head with the Ghost. It's down to a 3v5 for UGA, super fast. They fell apart completely when losing that Vice utility. Their C-hold was instantly dismantled, and now they have to try to find a retake here. Sheath has done that a few times so far, gone past the Vice wall, tries to take the timing, but when you lose that fight, you lose all of the value of the utility you've placed across the board. Interesting barrier up here coming out from the side of Gray, because they don't need to worry about flank when they have so many Sentinels. They can use their utility in different ways post-plant, which is where some of these Sentinels will thrive. Paranoia set up for this retake. Great Paranoia is going to completely slow down this retake. They're stuck in CT. They're stuck in this dark cover. They can't get out. They're slowed. They're blinded. They're trying to smoke their way out, but they don't know what to do. Spike is taking down. The beats are fast. The shots are landing for the side of UH. Sonic gets the trade. There's Spike. They can try to defuse it, but it's too late. The last alive. Sai throwing his weapon down as his honor defeats. Everyone dies to the Spike, but the round score goes up for UAH.
I'm going to talk a little bit about how UAH, their strongest suit will be getting in to get that Spike down in the post-plant scenario, right? They have so many Sentinels, so much potential to just stall a UGA retake. The barrier placed up on the wall there is perfectly done so that their player of Trapman, who wants to sit inside of open down below on site, can either watch Waterfall or hold the perfect pixel headshot angle for players directly contesting to try to get into that elbow for default. So much on top for UAH. It's baking your cake, right? Making your cake and eating it too, but they have to get the first step done. It's a piece of cake to bake an easy cake. But if the way is hazy, you gotta do the cooking by the book, and UAH have to follow a recipe to a T. And unfortunately, it's hard-pressed to do it. It's like trying to make a cake or souffle and hoping it doesn't deflate. Because if they lose one piece, the sugar, two piece, an extra cup of flour, it's gonna deflate, and the chances of success are gonna be so slim to none. That this second round of the second half, round 14, it's done enough. 2 players off, seed site is theirs again, and they can set up with all 5 and all pieces of the utility you could ever ask for to stabilize and let UGA's defense try to retake a site that is basically impossible to do for them.
I'm pretty sure Inferno, you ripped off about 10 tongue twisters there. I don't think I could have said half the things you said in that last little time phrase 10 times fast if anyone asked me to. But yes, as you mentioned, complete dominance from the side of UAH, running it down on the C site. The first couple kills found and Sheath falling instantly. I don't mind the aggression that round. I really don't. Even if you're the only Sentinel, it's round 2. You just lost pistol. You're going to do whatever you can to find some value, find some damage. As Gray's going to go jumping into Sonic's crosshair. A nice little right click is going to find the only frag so far for the side of UAH. And it looks like UGA is still feeling very strong. A little bit of a body shot BM there from Sonic. But I think they need to try to think about how they want to take space, how they want to adapt with their aggressive playstyle. It's very tough for them to take space given the fact that they have 3 Sentinels. So no matter how much you try to flank, you're going to run into layers after layers of Sentinel utility and in the post plant as well. I think contesting the spike plant is going to be the key for UGA. Try to hold on to the sites as best you can. Contest the fact that they can't really dash fly by your crosshairs whatsoever. If you keep a stronger hold on the choke points, you should be able to hold this Sentinel comp to not really progressing into the sites, because in these post plant scenarios, UAH has proven to be just so strong.
Now, for UAH, the great thing about having a setup like this means you have C's, you have GrabNet, you have Barrier Orbs, you have Ice Walls. There's a lot of utility in UAH's back pocket that will create perfect lanes, perfect funnels for them. Talk about the old glory days of COD where we're in the 3-lane system, and we're kind of seeing Lotus be very similar. Obviously 3 objectives, but you want to create a 3-lane system even on your offensive approach to any site. And they do this by changing the architecture of the map. This is a famous thing in R6 for a Rooney? No, not a Rooney. I apologize. A famous thing for a zombie, the Kiba barricades, where they can change the map in a game that is entirely based on destructive architecture. It's super viable. You can't really destroy architecture super well here in Valorant. And the utility that gets placed can be destroyed, but it's a big nuisance to do so. And UAH will try to change up the map as much as they possibly can, consistently on the offense to elevate them to a higher position. There goes the sound of procs. Ratman will now sit inside tree alongside one more. Leave your Cypher for all the way back there towards Breach. And Psy, well, what more can you really do here in the back of sight trying to play from Hut? It's a 4-on-4, but UGA don't have a way to solidly step forward. Tripwire goes down. You've got the sound going off, keeping you stunned. Player trying to extend. Trailer just goes in, and that very well may have just done it.
Wow.
That's it, UGA. Straightforward, beat their head against a brick wall and somehow come out of this with not even a concussion to save for it.
As you said, beat their head against a brick wall and found the kills. I think that's the UGA Red special, if I had to sum it up in one line. Masterfully said. They just kind of ran forward and converted the kills, but that sort of post-plant retake, as everyone saw there, was very difficult. There was a lot of layers of utility for them to work through. Trailer with a nice shot to tree just through the smoke allows them to find the holes back into the round, but they cannot count on that every time. Their post-plant retakes are going to be very, very difficult. You saw they had 3 different Sentinel pieces of utility on the spike: the sound sensor, the tripwire, and the barrier orb. How are they going to be able to work through all of that? How are they going to be able to fly past all of that and quickly retake? They can't. So depending on how UGA decides to play this, I think really you've got to put a point of emphasis on holding onto the side. Is boosted. That's a nice shot on the fight early on. It's a classic full A fight are coming out from both sides. Trailer gets another, but 3 trays go the way of UH. All the players fall from the side of UGA, and then the deadlock will
Annihilation
as well.
has not been working.
Yeah, no, it's such a tricky thing to land. But now it's a 2v3 retake, and UGA, you've lost all of your retake capabilities. You have a Sentinel and a controller. The only thing you have is smokes.
Don't sleep in this paranoia here for Sonic.
That's true, but Zambot, aggressive. Oh, Sonic just knows. Sonic said, you know what, I'm an Omen. I know exactly what you're trying to do. Gets netted. Guard cover towards tree. Both players here. They see the barrier. They actually know. Great sound sensor, though. It's going to slow them down. Someone has to tap soon. Paranoia. Oh, Gray just gonna go through his sheath, walks in before the paranoia. Sonic now has to tap and hold himself. It's gonna be very tough. Finds the first, looking for another. Trapman closes it out. 7-9 scoreline. UAH is looking on this attacking half.
Oh, Trapman gets away with their life. Detonation did not go off. They're fine. The UAH, they're keeping the game close. That's what really is important here for the second half. Try to force the eco for UGA into all these precarious positions. Make their apex players, their prime players, struggle to get a proper rifle in their hands. Right now for Sonic, seemingly will be the case in the problem coming into this next round, round 5 of our second half. They'll only have a stinger to work with, but having them from the shadows means that they can TP for information, get a whole lot of impact. They can even TP into close corners, close to where UAH are starting to pressure, and try to find a close frag with that stinger. A lot of utility is expunged back in the favor of UAH as Trailer goes all the way up here close to rubble and secures themselves a nice frag and even stabilizes up the UGA front to get one more on top, only having it be a 1-for-2 trade. UAH being at the brunt end of that loss. They'll take a retreat and a step on over to our C site of choice where look at all that Sentinel utility so lovingly placed and primed up for UGA. And now UAH are no foreigners to the concept of Sentinel utility. I don't know if you know about this, but they have 3 Sentinels. And in fact, the 3 Sentinels are the only ones standing right now. So they should have no problem, but the speed at which they get into sight may be a bit too slow. Look at that barrier tossed over the top into Waterfall already. They've had a foothold to create space there. They don't even have the way to clear out this vice wall because Fur needs to bait this jump, and there it is, and they can start to maybe look a different direction with 45 seconds still on the docket. I anticipate a rotate on over to the A site, an isolated fight there for the Omen 3-on-1, and the UAH hoping to get an A site plant in.
These 3 Sentinels do have a little bit of utility online. There's a resurrection if they can actually fight this A player efficiently. Ray goes ahead and pops it on fly, and that's the fade back online that's proven so instrumental in a lot of these take and space control. That Haunt immediately being put to good use here. Barrier orb off stairs. Sonic's gonna find one on Trapman, but Fur with a fast trade. And then Nightfall off the back of the resurrection as well means that Boosted is not able to contest that spike plant. That resurrection is going to be the key, and they're going to get the spike down just because of it. It is now a 3v3 post-plant attempt for the side of UGA. All 3 players are here. They have plenty of time to work with if they play this smart. They get seized, they get prowlered, they get prowlered again. Fly had all his utilities still. Neuro Theft coming in from the side of Fur. Greg gets the kill onto Boosted, and now Sheep is left all alone in a 1v3. Location scan again. 5,000 layers of utility for him to go through. Sends an arc rose towards Tree to try to find some space. That's an eye, that's a swing, that's a kill. Fair with the 3K, and they're scarily close to equalizing the scoreline. UGA needs to figure out where they're going with this defensive half and fast.
I mean, think about it. Anytime that Gray is able to somehow miraculously charge up the ultimate, because the kills have not been falling in favor for Gray here. And Gray got 20 plus kills on Haven, by the way, because they were playing Tejo, but still, those were mostly gun kills. He got 2 utility kills on the map. So the other 20 are with the gun. Where is that, Gray? I can Harper Gray as much as they want. I just did a broadcast with him yesterday. Also did confirm UGA can body shot UAH. You have to be respectful about it. But if it's Gray, you can do it as many times as you want. I don't. It's a free pass for Gray. He can take it. He also confirmed that they were okay with it as well. So, you know, lots of things to ask. But for UAH, they have so much potential in the back pocket of these ultimates. Obviously, though, again, it hasn't worked a single time yet for them, but the fear of it, the scare of it for UGA forces them to funnel away from these sites and these sight lines a whole lot faster than they would if there wasn't a deadlock. Dumping of utility off to C site gives you the free rotate back over to A, and guess who's not holding up close in next to rubble? It's the Owen for the side of UGA. They're not willing to fight that far forward, which gives the free resurrection back to Fly, and look at just how easy the rest of the round is for UAH. It's a very well-read, meticulous offense, like we did see from UGA, them playing the whole time bank. 3 rounds, 4 rounds of that first half on their offense, but UAH is doing that nearly every single time. If they struggle to get into sights, they will gladly take a couple steps back and reevaluate, something that Gray and I really harped on a lot of teams for not doing. Obviously, he's drilled it into the heads here for UAH's offense, and these players, as there go 2 more heads flying for the side of UGA, make it a 3rd, and the trailer is here. They're no longer here very quickly because Gray is tucked just behind Box, leading now who else but Sheath to be the last one standing for UGA. Paranoid, flushed away, rushed upon from above and below. It's 4 standing for UAH and none for UGA as we tie up this series.
Now UGA, they did have a save now. They're going to have a full buy at this point, and they're going to opt to take that timeout, which I think is the right play here. You've lost momentum, you lost 3 rounds in a row, and you've lost 5 rounds out of the 6 that you've had in this half so far. The only round you've won so far is the one you ridden into win, the 3rd round of the half after losing Pistol. So we got to take a step back here. We got to reevaluate how are we playing this defensive side, and how are we allowing them onto site very easily? Because I feel like UAH have not been contested on their way onto site that often, other than that one time where we had the heavy A main fight once or twice. So UGA deciding how they want to do this, how they want to pivot around this defensive map, how they want to handle these 3 sites is going to be key to shutting down UAH, because once again, like I mentioned time and time again, once they're on site, the post plant utility has so many layers for UGA to deal with.
If I'm UGA, the first thing I'm thinking of is what is the problem and why is it the problem? UAH have 3 Sentinels. What are they lacking? It's a duelist. They don't have the ability to close the gap super well. Why are they finding success despite this lack of ability to close the gap? It's because they're sending so much utility at us, we're forced to stay still and static to go with these gunfights, and UAH swing it in 2v1. First player out the gate swings wide. Second player swings close, and you now have a 2v1 where even if they get a kill, it's nearly instantly refragged, and the UAH gunners are good enough to securely find the frag before they lose one in the process. Just damage. And guess what? If you deal damage and don't kill, guess what they have? A utility consumer of Gray, who's not been a kill consumer, but has done clearly enough in the second half to give UAH the edge and tie up this series. So where do you fix this? Don't stay where you have to be. Play for retakes if you must, but then you go, Infernosis, Scott, it's 3 Sentinels. How do we retake? The same way you did in the 3rd round of this half. Beat your head against a brick wall if you have to. Get into sight. Avoid the easy obstacles on the way forward and go the roundabout way if you must. Map control is the biggest thing that UAH have no way to deny. If they place any Sentinel utility behind them, they won't have it for the post plant. They won't have it for the push. Take advantage. And they're slowly just getting absolutely picked apart by a bunch of Sentinels nonetheless, as UGA's defenses, one after another, getting isolated and dealt with.
I think the key part there is the word isolated. UGA, you gotta be a little bit better at playing together here. You can't be losing these 1v1s all on your own, but perfectly played around the shear there with the kill from Sheath, and he's gonna go for more pops. The Arc Rose pops the Thorns, but Fairy is shooting strong. And then the barrier orb, they can just weld themselves over to another site, save the smokes if need be, and
another.
There's just so many layers. They have so much stuff to deny any sight lines as they run all the way over to C site. They can't get punished at all. Trailer as Sheath are trying to, or not Sheath, I apologize, Trailer and Sai are trying to fight it, trying to contest it, but they can't really do much about it. And now they're in a 2v4 retake, and the Spike's gonna go down to the C site. They're gonna try to scale up on the CT side, try to make something happen, keep their hopes and dreams alive for a round 19 conversion and getting to double digits on the scoreboard first. But it's going to be a very tough retake. They do have a little bit of utility online. Breach most of his utility there for Sai. Trailer as well is going to be able to take some space fast. But there's a lot of layers to this post plant. Stun coming out, but it doesn't matter. Gray just shuts him down off rip. Gray's tired of everyone calling him a not shooter. Everyone's saying pie watch. Gray said, nah, I'm ready to shoot. I'm ready to win.
More like die
I'm ready
watch.
to convert. UAH completely destroying this UGA's defensive setup even after the timeout, and that's not what I like to see after a UGA reset.
10-9. UAH recover the second half on their offense with 3 Sentinels nonetheless. And UGA, despite the timeout, don't look like they're any closer to figuring out what they have to do to change it. And I think that's one of the strong suits of having this very different agent selection, right? 3 Sentinels means you have to constantly question, why is it working and how do we stop it? And if you aren't prepped for this, if you didn't know, and I'm going to be honest with you, I've kind of done UAH a disservice. I've mentioned this multiple times throughout every broadcast on Thursdays. I go, I love seeing this map. UAH bring 3 Sentinels. UAH bring 4 Sentinels. UAH bring the most stupid, idiotic strategy I've ever seen, and it works. It just works. These players have more in-depth knowledge of the game than I do. Their coaches should have more in-depth knowledge than I do. Their strategic evaluation should be miles, leagues ahead of what I have. I have the luxury of a god view from up above. But yet, every time we see UAH on this map, teams don't comprehend what they have to do to change. And it always turns into the same thing. Let's get into 1v1s. Let's get the information. If they lose a life, they lose it. But that's already where UAH was doing good. You've only made it easier. You have to play 2 in the same spot. And the moment you hear utility, you have to swing that thing. Because if you don't, UAH will 9 times out of 10 find the double swing, find the kill, and matriculate success. And that's not even the hardest part. The hardest part is once they get to site, because that's where things get dirty aside. Get some good double 2 combos off to Sambot, but you'll immediately lose Trailer right afterwards, and Sai's position is known, where you send out a mesh, and now they're trapped over towards Waterfall, and they can't get any further, as you're hoping to hunt this if you're Trap Man, but you don't have to. The team wants A. You're just here to keep them distracted.
Now we do have two players for the side of UGA trying to hold on. Dark cover coming out from Sonic now. He's going to try to slow them down, but that barrier orb's going to allow him to trip it. But Sheath going absolutely mental with a stinger on the door rotation. Finally converts the multi-kill. Has a spike and a gun upgrade unlocked as well. And I believe Sonic can go for one. But Trapman walking all the way around from the seaside into UGA's spawn. Gets 2 kills to put him on 3. Has another ultra as well, but it's down to 10 seconds. There we go. Sheets is going to pop the ultimate. They want to secure this round no matter what. They need that 10th round, and they need it now. Trapman gets the 4th. Sheets has to live for the next 3 rounds. And Gray swings out. Doesn't matter if he doesn't have a Vandal. He can just absolutely knock down Sheets, who was tagged up down to 1 HP. And the 11th round is unfortunately going to fall the way of UAH, despite Sheets' heroics and UGA's desperate attempt to hold on to the final few seconds of that round.
Why are Sentinels good in a post-play? The biggest answer for this is because there's only a few limited ways in which they can step into the site. You plan on seeing? There's 2 real avenues that you're going to see UGA retake in from. Defender spawn and waterfall. And look at how UAH shut down those pushes. Barrier orb on short wall next to default means that waterfall back of site hold won't matter. They have to directly push into site. Waterfall is an easy peek as well from the player back there, and that's been Gray for their offense so far. And he's been playing out of his world in difference for the second half. And then when you talk about A, in that last round scenario, where is sentinel utility good? It's when you know where they're going to come from. It doesn't matter if they're coming or if they're going. It matters that they're there. And look where they are. You know where they are. They're both behind pillar. They're behind tree. They will not move. They cannot move. And UAH continue to dissolve what UGA bring to the table. Sai, though, is able to get a good frag. They're both looking the wrong direction. This is where I was talking about. Force into the sight lines. If you can get them to turn, you win. The UAH will continue to evolve their play, spread out, immerse themselves within the map, find a first blood for themselves or even the odds, and then either use it as a pivot point or turn the other direction to try to stage up for an A site take instead, where, yeah, it's been kind of a problem over here. Sheath is unbelievably good. Probably the best player on the side of UGA right now for the entirety of all 3 maps. But when it's UAH with all these players and the man advantage, Sheath hasn't had the best of luck.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I don't know, that first trade over onto the seaside, that man advantage was taken down right away. Fair now. They just found the hole. Once again, Sonic taken down. They have so little map control for the side of UGA, and now the spike goes down, using that full time, using that full clock, and it means that the rounds are just falling UAH's way. Here we go. Fade Eye, Hunt, trying to take some space. Sheath going absolutely insane. 2 huge kills through Breakable. Gets blinded, goes for more. Sandbox with the kill on Trailer. Sandbox with another boosted. Brings it down to a 1v1. Both players have ultimates, but neither of them super impactful at this point. Nightfall gonna be sent out towards main. Taps the spike, but from the shadows is going to be able to spot out that he is in fact potentially sticking and boosted. Great utilization of that false information given. Just walks out. Sandbot unexpecting that angle despite the frags, is unable to land that last shot, and UGA finally breaks the streak of UAH's rounds and gets the double digits on the scoreboard.
And that ball wins it for you because the audio difference. He can't hear.
True.
He doesn't know. He has no idea. But Sandbot doesn't have to feel pressured. The great thing about sticking a spike to half is that if you stick it to half and then you die and you have a teammate there, they can just get the rest of it. And then it's a problem of questioning, did they get it? Did they not get it? How do I look? I didn't get a good look at the spike. In a 1v1, let them stick it to half. Let them waste 5 seconds on it. The moment you swing in at the last second, you get the kill. Why, oh why, is Sandbot pushing there? It's just one of those things where I mentioned with Gray yesterday, a lot of the times you don't digest information fast enough, or you feel too, too congested because you're getting too much information, and it turns into this absolute just mosh pit of not knowing exactly what to do and maybe doing the wrong thing, and that turns into a lot of wrong things all at once. Barrier goes into the backside. They'll also use the slow orb. Trailer trapped on backside pillar, but you have a player stuck in default corner. This is unfortunately a spot where UAH need to get this first blood first, and they're going to try to rely on the Odin and the wallbang potential to do so, as there's not much utility they have to waste, and a lot of it can recharge. But this is where the time bank favors UGA, and they know that. And so they're just going to refuse to peek any and all angles, and when they do, they're going to hope it's flash first.
I love the fact that UGA has actually tried to play a little bit more disciplined here, not give them that first blood without that flash combo play. We see Sai threatening over towards default, bend off that Jiggle. Jiggle's going to spot him out.
Wow.
Great dodge there, and then Sai just swings out. Gets the kill to Trapman. Gray's gonna get a trade, but that's okay. That is a huge kill, and now there's only 30 seconds left on the clock
And they can
for
rotate.
the side of UAH. Yep, they popped the door. They're looking to go over towards B. Sonic's gonna go ahead and send that dark cover over towards the B main position, try to slow them down. Paranoid, they're gonna push them off the angle, try to step on the site, and they have the site. Now, once they have the site, that's the issue. The barrier orb, everything. They can't get swung. They refuse to get swung. They have a seize, they have a net, they have everything they could possibly need. And the first fight's gonna be taken by Fly towards Trailer. And Ray's gonna get the kill onto Boosted. She's gonna get one back, but Fly says this round is UAH's to win. It is a 2v3 retake now. She looking to go
the full
insane
wrap
once again.
Sambot.
Wow, the wrap. Sambot, he doesn't care. He's just gonna go all the way around. Fly's gonna kill Trailer anyways. Before Sambot even gets there, Sheath in a 1v3 now, jiggling around the corner. Knows there's 2 players to his left. Sambot's gonna be the one who ultimately completes the kills. And I mean, Sambot's wrap wasn't even needed. UAH had such a strong hold on that side. The second they gain that space, the second their foot touches the waterfall and upper, all the utility comes flying in. And UGA just has nothing to counteract it. And they're even broke going into the final match and series point.
They have Rolling Thunder, so technically with the fact that Sentinels have to stay somewhat close, you'd think this is really good. But the problem is UH doesn't stay close. They had Sambot in a man disadvantaged scenario at the time. Ramp! UH just doesn't care! I'd be pissed! I am pissed! I hate that this works, but I love that it works at the same time! UGA! Oh my goodness, this is a headshot kill. If I've ever seen one, you've got to be kidding me, Trailer! And UAH's prime focal point has always been refrags. If they lose the first on this offense, there's a second. They're willing to take the loss. Look at your breach last round. They get a kill and they're immediately sprayed through a wall with an Odin. UAH say you might get us, but we'll get you 10 times harder. And your fake evaluation of finding success immediately goes, let's rotate, let's rotate. By the time you rotate, we're in another site. We're already gotten in, but Boosted gets one, no two. Sets up a possible round for UGA, but Trapman will lap back, and there's the res to make it worse. All that ill-gotten gains only amounts to one, and it's a trade where util is everything, and look what Trapman's doing. Pushing with a Marshall, and the hit fire is no more. C-Site is UAH's, and UGA already knocking on a match in series point loss. Have to walk into the barrels of UAH on site, and the plethora of Sentinel util as well. And Sai! Stop peeking! Your Rolling Thunder is literally all you have! Why on earth would you re-engage here into a one-way smoke with a Spectre?
Thankfully, it doesn't get punished for it. The Rolling Thunder is still online for UGA. This is their last desperate 3v4 stand to get this round and keep their map and series hopes alive. As you mentioned, the Rolling Thunder coming in with the flash as well. Paranoid is going to hit 2 of UGA's.
They're just stalled in spawn.
Slowing down this retake. They're completely stuck. They're slow. They're smoked. They're stunned. They're blind. They have no hope, no life, and fear.
That's game.
Gets 1, gets 2, gets 3. Shuts them down with the 3K. And somehow UAH with the reset knows show attacking dominance, shutting down UGA's defensive side, bring us to a 13-10 scoreline and reverse sweeping UGA. That is a 2-1 scoreline for the side of UAH, and they have destroyed UGA and taken this map. UGA has fallen.
That has to be... there's no result in collegiate that can really tilt a lot of teams. But for UGA, I 100% think it comes down to that, right? It is watching 3 Sentinels literally stomp you. Literally make a comeback on attacking side nonetheless. And I was like, I'm fairly certain they did better on offense than they did on defense. And I was unbelievably proven right. That is some of the scariest, most suffocating offense you could possibly ask for. And it's because they understand the win condition. Gray is a unbelievably intelligent player. They have set conditions. They refuse to abide by a strict strategy. They like teammates that can always evolve, always elevate, always change. And we see it there. You lose one, you go, okay, well, we still have a res. Let's go elsewhere. Poke over here and then lap back. Who cares? Let's waste 30 seconds. Let's go hit C. Did we get a kill? Nah. Did we get a refrag? Sure. Okay, let's go B. Like, they just never different. Always something new. Always a different idea. And UAH with 3 Sentinels proved that sometimes the best offense is a damn good defense. And they powered through a UGA red side that was in tier 1. Remember, they didn't play great in tier 1, but they're tier 1. And UAH, we called as one of the top 5, if not top 3 tier 2 teams, trounced them in the second half of a map like that with the craziest agent composition you can ask for.
I think for UGA, there's going to be a lot of reflection. A lot of conversations after that map. Maybe not today. Maybe they need to let their anger steam off a little bit here. Maybe we need to take a second to cool down. But if they're able to learn and grow from this, as you mentioned, they have made the playoffs and they've seen a team composition that I don't think they've faced whatsoever. And it showed them that they weren't really capable of being flexible. They weren't
Yeah.
capable of evolving mid game. They weren't capable of adjusting from their set plans, from their set plays, and what the ideas they have in mind. And so when they want to get something non conventional, they want to get something that was a little bit different. They weren't really able to adapt in time. And I think that's what it came down to on that Lotus map, is you weren't really able to adapt. The When you're going against conventional strats, you've seen this time and time again. You watch VCT, you see how these teams react. In VCT, you've never seen a triple, quadruple Sentinel comp on Lotus absolutely decimate on the attacking half, so you have no idea what to do. You have no point of reference. And I think if UGA is able to take this as a point of note, work on their adaptability, and think accordingly, they still have a solid chance in Tier 1 playoffs. Now, looking at UAH, if I'm any tier 2 team, I'm very, very scared of UAH at this point, especially their Lotus pick. And honestly, if I'm one of the coaches or one of the team leads for tier 2, I'm banning Lotus right off rip every single time I play against UAH.
UTC's Gree just basically said might have to steal this comp. Like, this comp is really good. The issue is, and I'll say this outright, the moment it's known, it's hard. It's fairly easy to counter, right? But it does take the ability in game to adapt to that, because Valorant's a game of adaptability. The team that adapt first will win first, right? That's just the name of the game. And for the side there of UGA, they're a clinically talented team. We saw really great strategies. We saw really great set pieces. We saw it on map 1, map 2, and map 3. The issue with map 3 was when they are facing a team comp that they have not prepped for, they've never seen, they've never prepped for, we don't see their ability, their coaching ability, their individual ability to think through it enough, far enough, even with timeouts, to get better about it. We saw it on map 1. No, we saw it on map 2, where UAH had momentum in the second half. They didn't call their timeout, even when they lost 2. They didn't call it, because they knew that if they give any time for UGA to think things through, the chance of them finding a way through it is pretty high. Right. But then they saw they didn't. Even with a timeout, they didn't. So UAH go, okay, we're also not going to call a timeout on the second half of Lotus. We don't need to. They haven't found an answer. They're not going to find an answer even with 60 seconds. They need 2 minutes. They need 3 minutes. They need 5 minutes. They need somebody to I don't know, run outside, do a circle around the neighborhood and scream, and even know how to beat 3 Sentinels, right? They just couldn't find the answer. And I don't think any amount of time was going to give UGA that guess, was going to give them that edge. But this was also something that could have very easily been VOD reviewed for and prepped for. This was on recording. There is a full VOD of this back in February of them doing this into December, one of those dates where they did this exact thing against a really good team of Georgia Tech, who probably also could beat UGA Red because they're better on every other map than UAH is consistently. This is just where UAH do best, though. Lotus with this composition, my goodness. Keep your eye out for it. UAH is one to look out for. Playoffs are officially on the horizon. It's a week off for everybody in the LCQ. It is next week for the winner's circle. We will try to get all 3 games, and if we can't get them on broadcast, we're going to get one recorded and play it later on broadcast. I'm not letting these games go unseen and unsung. The only way I'm missing one is if it's a forfeit. And I hope that they don't do that, because every single team so far, except for one, is forfeited right now in Winter Circle, and it really irks me. But thank you so much, Cheese It, for coming in. You made me feel a lot less crazy for map 3. I was going crazy on map 1 and 2. I'm used to doing it. I've done it. I used to do it all the time. But super big shout out, super big help. You even ditched the UGA broadcast. And this is after you said earlier, and I will go back up to do it. You got a WL Small saying, why are you here in the inferior broadcast, the inferior stream? And then we're like, I can't wait to join the SEL broadcast.
Well, I mean, our stream didn't go down until I did it on purpose. So I'll just leave it there.
To be fair, I did do it on purpose. I did drop the stream on purpose because I was going to scrub the VOD. But it's not like OBS where you can hit stop streaming and then it'll wait the 3 minutes. If you hit start streaming, it just cuts it. It just drops the sucker. It does not care. VMix is a different beast. And this is my first time using it, so I was fairly happy and content.
Fair enough.
With it
Point
overall.
Conceded, and I was very glad to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very happy that you were here. You're doing wonderful work. And UGA Red, you'll have a very bright future in front of you. Obviously, Tier 1 was tough. It's going to be. Playoffs, though, is your chance to grow, chance to shine, and you already made playoffs. You knew that. And now you've gotten the biggest lesson you could possibly ask for, a learning lesson against a team where you felt like you should have been able to beat them, and they knew they were going to beat you if it ever got to the chance of Lotus. And that's just what UAH does best for this map. You had to win more in the first half, and you had to realize faster in the second. But with that being said, that's it from us here for the SEL Esports. We're super happy to have had everybody here joining us. Big shout out to Cheez It Gaming for, that's a G at the end, not Cheez It Gaming. gaming. It just doesn't fit in our bar. We should check out their socials. My socials up above. Check out our producer, Crazy Potato. I think that's their Twitter. I double check. Crazy P underscore on Twitter. That's what their Twitter is. Crazy P, who's stepped in multiple times this week at fairly last minute to do. They recorded the Charlotte versus Niner game on Thursday. They stepped in for this on Saturday to do this, and they have been plagued, and we never bring them back because they're plagued to always get all 3 maps. I'll bring them back for the finals because we want to see every map in finals. How about that? I'll probably bring it back next week. I'm super appreciate them being here. But with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you guys next week with the winner's circle, and we'll see how it pans out.